yeah, about how, I'm going to start with history of horses, humans, kind of the cultural role, kind of the way our toys have evolved, and kind of how the fandom itself started. So yeah, I'll just start right off with here. Yeah, the horse has a really long and interesting evolutionary history, starting with around 40 million years ago. They lived on what was North America. It was different. It wasn't like you see it today. It was a lot closer to Europe and Africa. They were all a little more squished together, but they were moving apart. There was kind of an Atlantic Ocean starting to form around them. It wasn't Pangea, or it was after Pangea. But yeah, these little animals called Eohippus hyracotherium, which are like the size of a small dog, probably like a terrier sized, and they didn't have the hooves you know of. They had kind of fingery like paws that they walked around on, but they were just starting to form these hard nails as they walked along. And you see here their middle finger, or kind of their equivalent to the middle finger, kind of. They started walking on that more, emphasizing putting more of their weight down on it, and it started to grow. And over time, over millions of years, they found an advantage in being fast-running animals. So Eohippus became Mesohippus. Then there's Merychippus, Pliohippus, and a modern horse called Equus. Equus is actually the scientific name for it. And it's just Greek for horse. So like the Draconicus in My Little Pony, he's called that because he's a dragon and a pony. Dragon horse. Draconicus. Draconicus. One of the so yeah, that's horses and everything. Pretty long, interesting history. They actually have much better, more evolved digestive systems than us. They can eat grass. That's not a high-calorie food, and yet they can run 40 miles an hour from it. Pretty long, sustained distances and everything. Pretty remarkable animals. The reason they have horse faces, the whole why the long face joke, that's because they have to process a lot of oxygen. They have to breathe a lot of air. Have to have high respiration. Very large, powerful hearts and lungs and everything for running fast. That's why their hoof, their single hoof, is called perissodactyl hoof. They're different from the hooved animals like the goats and the deer, which are called artiodactyl because they have cloven hooves. They're like a double hoof. While horses and a few of their relatives, they're actually related to the rhinoceros and the tapir. They're all kind of in a larger family together. And they have what are called perissodactyl hooves. Yeah, it just means it's like one finger, I think. Perissodactyl. It's in the Greek terminology there somewhere. So when humans have been around, I mean, modern man, as you call it, he's probably been around about 200,000 years. Modern horses about a few million years. And our earliest interactions, one of the earliest, we have a trove of this wonderful little treasure trove of evidence we found of early humans in a cave in France, in the South. It was a really amazing find. They found it in 1994. It has just flawless, previously undiscovered, untouched cave paintings that were painted 30,000 years ago. And what did early man from 30,000 years ago paint? Well, he painted horses, bears, and lions, and saber-toothed cats, which no longer obviously exist. All kinds of animals which were common in France at the time, which aren't anymore. It's a very, very amazing cave. The artwork's actually really beautiful. I think that's the Neolithic. Yeah, Neolithic man showed a lot of artistic skill, in his rendering of things, which, there's all kinds of interpretations from it, of like what that meant, what the religious, spiritual significance was to him. But yeah, at the time he probably hadn't domesticated horse yet, so they were just wild horses. He may have hunted them for food, but it's probably about as far as his interaction went. So the earliest domestication of horses probably occurred much more recently, probably around 6,000, well, not that much more, but yeah, 6,000 years ago. There was a clade of wild horses called the tarpan horse, kind of around the central Eurasian steppes, and they would be qualified as ponies because they were small. They weren't like the big, tall Arabian horses most of us admire. Whatever, they were kind of more sturdier ponies. They were wild and everything, a bit shaggier in their pelts, as you can see from the picture. And I guess the tarpan horse is like the closest thing we have. It's kind of a bred-back, rare breed or something, a pony that's kind of been bred back to what they think is similar to the first wild horses we may have domesticated. The earliest, yeah, like I said, around the Eurasian steppes in Ukraine, around 6,000 years ago, 6,550 years ago. And there's some rather early artwork, probably Babylonian or something. So yeah, in the My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, there's three kinds of races, you know, horses, basically horses, as they call earth ponies there in the show. But then there's Pegasi and unicorns, which are a couple of different forms of mythical horses, or horse-like animals, which I'm going to go into. Pegasus, now, we've kind of made the Pegasus into, or that show especially, makes the Pegasus into a creature, basically. It's just called a Pegasus because it's a winged horse, but Pegasus is actually a proper noun because it was a name of one figure, one god, a god named Pegasus who was a divine winged stallion sired by Poseidon and birthed by Medusa after Perseus cut her head off. I'm sure you've all seen Clash of the Titans, probably the old and the remake of it. It kind of borrows from Greek mythology, but with coming up with its own liberties and stuff here and there. But yeah, Perseus did decapitate Medusa, and after Medusa died, basically Perseus just kind of sprang out of her neck. And so he was like, sweet, winged horse. Yeah. So, yeah, a little bit more about Pegasus. He's the brother of Chrysaor. He was ridden by Perseus into battling the Chimera. I guess he didn't. Did he not fight the Kraken in the movie? I don't know. Yeah, see, I'm not that good on Greek mythology, but and I think there's other myths that he made. Wherever he landed, he made the land fertile and stuff like that. He was a magic divine horse and stuff. I already said that, yeah. Okay. So then, yeah, that's kind of basic stuff about Pegasi. So yeah, the term, the plural of Pegasi is kind of a made-up thing. I don't want to go really way into that, but Pegasi is a pretty good, plural. Some people have arguments about it. Should it be Pegasi, Pegasuses, or something? Pinkie Pie said Pegasus.
I heard one thing, it said tiger.
Yeah. Okay, so then there's unicorns. Now, unicorns originally weren't necessarily just horses with horns on them. They were kind of a goat-like, lion-like-ish creature. You can kind of see this medieval tapestry. They kind of look a bit goat-like. They have a beard. They have cloven hooves. Kind of this lion-like tail. That's long and has the hair on the end of it. And they kind of originate in medieval folklore. They were used in a lot of Christian imagery. They were kind of a symbol of unspoiled wilderness, purity, and they're another interesting mythology about them is that they could only be seen or captured by a virgin.
Usually a woman specifically.
Usually a woman specifically, yeah. So, oh, sorry about that picture. I didn't mean to post not safe for work. It's up medieval. Anyway, but yeah, and their horns were thought to have healing powers. Interesting trivia. The whole alicorn thing, I looked into the origin of them. It's really not a thing. anywhere. It's just kind of, I think just in the 20th century, some people just decide to stick wings on a unicorn and stuff, and just basically said, here, this is even cooler version of what was already there. And it's not really established in any folklore or anything, but and there's an alicorn. The word really, bronies kind of have been a large part of putting that out there and making that a word. The word originally basically just means it was described as when you grind a unicorn's horn down into powder, the substance is called alicorn or something. And I think maybe the first use of the word alicorn was Piers Anthony, I think, in his some of his weird sci-fi stories or something. But anyway, sorry, might be going too slow. Anyone have any questions about unicorns, Pegasi?
You actually have my comment on that about Marco Polo.
About what?
I read Marco Polo's Travels at one point. You actually.
Oh yeah. The unicorn myth origin probably came from, like, there were narwhal tusks transported from Scandinavia and down into Europe, and when they saw a narwhal tusk, of course they didn't know what that came from. They'd never seen one, so they had to make up a story about it or something. And of course, there's actually unicorns in different cultures of the world. In Japan has its own kind of version of the unicorn. Let's see, but the origin is kind of, they might have found disfigured wild goats, or just their skulls or something, and they had a single horn. Marco Polo wrote of seeing unicorns on his travels, but they think it was probably just rhinoceroses.
Minor correction, if I recall, he was reporting secondhand that someone else had seen them.
Oh, okay, yeah. So it's a rumor of...
Or maybe he saw them in the King's Court, but it wasn't in the wild.
Yeah.
He mentioned they were native to, I think, Madagascar.
That's kind of how a lot of myths and stuff come about, just someone says someone else saw something and the information gets so badly messed up.
He just says that it's not an elegant or magical animal at all.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, there's Sleipnir. I really hope maybe, some of the writers in some of the future seasons can do something with this. They seem to like hoarding mythological creatures and stuff, so I hope maybe they can work this in there. Sleipnir's pretty cool. He's a 8-legged steed, inspired. Oh, okay. Let me go back. He ridden by Odin into battle. From Norse mythology. He was actually foaled by Loki. Believe it or not, yeah. There's a Loki in one of the Norse mythology tales. Is turned into a mare, and this other god named Falafar, who's like the stallion, they have a foal together, and so I guess Odin ends up riding out that. But anyway, there's some humorous things made on DeviantArt, taking the Loki character from Marvel. It's kind of, because it's weird to think about. Mythology's pretty strange.
With MLP, they had mythical creatures. Most of the mythical creatures they completely get wrong, like the Wendigos and the Changelings.
Yeah, they take liberties like it.
Which are actually much closer to modern.
So, if you want to learn more about the history of horses, there's plenty of stuff out there. We could have a whole college course about this. I don't really want to go too much into that, but they were helped win the Battle of Hastings, where William the Conqueror took over Britain, changed basically that kind of the ethnic face of that island forever. Caligula had a favorite horse named Incitatus. Very interesting stories about that. There were the Mongols. They swept across China. They, on horseback. The Plains Indians, once Spaniards brought their horses over, their culture kind of flourished and developed from horses. World War I was about the last uses of horses in warfare, and the novel Black Beauty, which is kind of a story about from the point of view of a horse, was helped kind of inspire the Victorian era, animal welfare movement. Animal welfarists in late Victorian era London would pass copies of Black Beauty out to horse carriage owners and stuff like that to encourage them to just, because they were very, very cruel to horses back then.
What's Black Beauty written?
Oh, I wouldn't know that. I don't know the exact date. But yeah, and Mr. Red. Yeah. Horse stuff. So yeah, you might wonder exactly what's up with ponies. You know, why is there this type of horse called a pony? The word pony comes from the old French word poney. Poney. Kind of hard to say because it's French, but it basically just means a foal or a young immature horse. So yeah, I kind of had trouble figuring out what exactly a pony is. I think it's basically just a small horse, but I know there's different varieties of horses, which some people call ponies. And a lot of horse owners will say that ponies are more kind of ornery, aggressive, more bitey and stuff than horses are. So yeah, that kind of goes into this, you know. Why is there this culture where girls say they want a pony? It's kind of, I think part of it's kind of a popular culture thing. It just spreads. It's like little girls want ponies, so of course they just want ponies. But might also come from basically ponies are smaller and therefore easier to maintain, so that's probably more accessible, you know, for just hobby, as a hobby horse, I guess, than a full-size horse is. So yeah, historically, you know, horse equestrianism and stuff was something men took a lot of charge of. It wasn't that common for women to be on horseback before. Gender biases and physical attributes of horseback riding, stuff like that. They kind of, but later they changed. They made more improvements in saddles and stuff like that. Made it easier to sit bow-legged on the horse and everything. And came kind of a,
To mind you, that horseback riding stance is pretty hard on men too.
Oh yeah, it's pretty, makes you pretty sore. But yeah, around the 1800s, a new culture of equestrianism came about for women. So yeah, why are horses? Horses are kind of a big deal. They're a big thing of status, a big show of status, of wealth, power. Even especially today, you know, I mean, when fewer people own land, like large tracts of land, you know, people aren't agrarian or farmers. They mostly just, you know, we have so many people that live in cities or in subdivisions. So horse ownership's kind of a wealth thing, you know, kind of a status thing.
I hate anyone who had a pony growing up.
But yeah,
I had a pony. Everyone in my village had a pony.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, but it's a popular thing. You know, the whole equestrian, you know, thing with girls. You know, girls really liking horses. It's you know, they're majestic. They're really amazing and everything. You know, horseback riding's pretty awesome, pretty neat experience. But yeah, they're pretty. Horses, unicorns, dolphins, you know, they're just undeniably cool, you know. But yeah, so yeah, this whole culture of kind of girls like horses, girls like ponies, they all want ponies. You know, there's lots of marketing potential now. So in 1991, Bonnie Zachary, like a toy designer, submitted a design patent for an ornamental design for toy animal. The patent number, US #D269986, was granted in August 1983. And here is that patent application. Yeah, for the first My Little Pony toy. This is the first, it was called My Pretty Pony at first. It was put out by Romper Room before their Hasbro bought them out because it was selling well. So yeah, you pretty much, I don't have to go into the whole history of MLP. I mean, I can give a brief synopsis of it, you know. There's G1, it was, these are screenshots of G1, the animated show they made. You know, basically every popular cartoon in the 80s was basically a toy commercial. There's all the things that they're strip mining, and Michael Bay is just strip mining and taking for today, and
My Little Pony, that's directed
bringing
by
back these weird mutant things. These blockbusters. Basically toy commercials in the 80s. You know, if you're watching a cartoon about a toy, it makes you want to buy the toy more. They know how easy it is to influence kids and everything. But yeah, the G1, there's Tyrek, and that's Grogar, I think. Grogan? Not Grogar. I don't know. there's Applejack. There's some scene where she looks like she's in trouble. And then G2, where they changed them, they took away the mythological. I think they were all Earth ponies, and they just were like high school girls. And then for the cartoon, then yeah, then G 3.5 sales were declining. They just kind of turned into these weird. I'll get that.
Whoa!
Next.
What was that?
They turned into these bizarre shape, kind of this bizarre shape, and then G4. You guys know the rest of the story. So yeah, I'm going to talk about kind of an interesting, the way that the pony toys developed is kind of similar to how teddy bears developed. I kind of call it an evolutionary path. It's kind of like convergent evolution. It's the early teddy bears kind of looked like bears because they're like, let's make a toy bear. So they gave it kind of the profile of a bear, a long rostrum, which just means no. It's a fancy term for nose. And they just look like real bears. But nowadays, or you know, over time, they started to modify their faces. They made them look more what's called infantile. They gave them larger foreheads, shorter noses, you know, eyes that look straightforward and everything.
Because the teddy bear started with Teddy Roosevelt.
Yeah, the whole teddy bear origin. Yeah.
Yeah. He wouldn't shoot a bear that was tied up.
Yeah. The real story about that's sadder, a lot sadder though. It was this half. They had already like beaten up the bear cub or whatever, half unconscious form, and basically. Anyway, it's sad. They ended up killing the bear with a knife because he just didn't feel like shooting it because he didn't think that was good enough sport or whatever. But anyway, but yeah, this is how kind of how ponies have developed over time. Now, from G1 through G3, they did kind of largely stick to the same design, and it's just kind of basically a horse, but kind of cutesy looking, multicolored things like that. You know, it was just a good toy to sell. You know. Sold fairly well. Well, yeah, more than fairly well, of course. Everyone knows the pony, of course, before G4 even. But yeah, but during G 3.5, they just decided to just kind of do something rather strange. They started saying, hey, you know, and you go, why do they look? You know, why did they make their heads like that? You know, pretty bizarre
because
design.
They're the smartest of all, so their brain.
You know, and you see from G. The toys are kind of hard to tell, but with the transition from G 3.5 to G.4. Yeah, let me just talk about the science of cute a little more. Large eyes, a wide forehead, a small mouth and nose. These features are known as infantile, and we're biologically hardwired to see cute things with those kinds of features, and basically it evokes feelings of sympathy, like affection and stuff in us. They're also associated with youthfulness. Disney, of course, pioneered in taking advantage of this in their cartoons with their pretty Disney princesses and everything, giving them these big eyes and everything, which inspired Japanese animators to create, Japanese anime, kind of, and everything. So, but they've made cutesy little toys of things for years. Why is there suddenly this adult male obsession with this, with G4, My Little Ponies? Because Lauren Faust kind of made a few design tweaks that just made that really crossed a threshold, hit a lot of things that G3.5 definitely didn't hit on. It triggers all these mental stimuli because she said, because in her words, some of her interviews and stuff, she said personally that when she designed them, she wanted to make them cute but not cutesy, because the difference is, like, cutesy is kind of fake, kind of cheesy and saccharine, but cute is something you really can see, is adorable, or truly, I don't know, I guess valid for being adorable, and something that doesn't just kind of make you sick to your stomach, and I kind of overworded that. Let's see. So yeah, I kind of call it like a golden ratio, because she did kind of create this unusual, this anthropomorphic character in the G4 pony that kind of crosses over the uncanny valley. Like, they've been making, people have been anthropomorphizing animals in Disney movies and everything else for years, and there's a whole furry fandom and everything as a result of it. But sometimes it just makes certain people uncomfortable. It just kind of looks. There's certain things that can kind of make it a little bit weird looking, like when you put a dog's head on a human body and stuff like that. Or sometimes when too much talking animal stuff can just be a little bit, I don't know, G4 ponies just kind of look both like a person and like an animal, but they're somehow just not creepy, not weird. So here, I drew this up, just kind of sketched this up today. I was hoping to find more pictures and stuff, but I couldn't get the internet here, so I just kind of sketched this up at the last minute. But, sorry, that's pretty weird, but, this is kind of a demonstration of kind of how G3.5 and the differences in the designs, how it, just the slight differences, the slight tweaks that are made to make it go from creepy looking to kind of adorable or whatever, See, here's like G3.5 Pinkie Pie, sort of what she looks like. She has these eyes that don't really focus. She has kind of these weird chubby cheeks and this kind of this. She has like they gave her this bigger, bulbous head, but she still has this weird horse nose stuck on the end of it. It's kind of strange looking, And I think the weirdest thing is the cheekbones, but that's kind of. I think that's just basically what's left over from the jaw muscles of the horse, Because horses have big cheekbones, but they were just kind of making this mutant thing that didn't really work. I mean, it'll sell toys to little girls and stuff, but it was kind of, sales were declining and stuff, so they decided to start over. So Lauren Faust said, kind of take away the cheekbones, make the nose just a little bit, make the nose really itsy-bitsy. So you've pretty much seen all the remaining features of a horse kind of removed, and it's kind of so much like a kind of an anime character or a basically like a human now, but it still has kind of animal features, The nose still looks animalish, the ears look animalish, and of course she has 4 legs and everything. But she has your brain almost clicks with it because you kind of do still see something so humanly relatable in the face. So that just kind of triggers all of our little facial recognition centers in the brain, and the whole cute sense that we have. Oh man, I kind of threw this in at the last minute. What time is it? I don't want to go on for much.
It is 4:58.
Oh, okay. Is this a 30-minute thing or an hour?
It's an hour.
It is? Oh, okay. Oh, fine. Alright, does anyone have any more questions or input? No? Okay. But yeah, so, the way cartoons and everything work, like they convey emotions to us through, facial expressions. We are visual creatures. We communicate through facial expressions, and we've done that far longer than we have by written language or even speech. Another interesting thing is that we have like the whites of our eyes. That's kind of unique among us, and a lot of other animals don't have exposed sclera, as it's called. The kind of seeing the whites of our eyes kind of makes it a lot more easy to convey different emotions and stuff to each other. So cartoon characters have just exaggerations of all these features that can convey them, if anything, more powerfully or whatever. So the G4 ponies, I think G4 is kind of one of the first generations that actually took those cartooning methods and kind of used them really well, So basically, I kind of conclude and kind of sum up that basically G4 ponies kind of are similar to anime characters. They have big eyes, small noses, and tiny mouths. Just makes them appealing. So these characters are relatively easy to draw compared with other things. A lot easier to draw than, say, a Disney character or even The Simpsons. You ever try to sit down and like draw Homer Simpson or Bart? It's actually like a lot harder than it looks. There's so many things you gotta get, but it seems a lot easier with ponies. But anyway, yeah, there's a lot of artists that jumped on the bandwagon and started doing pony art, and they got, you know, you can bring a lot of influx of views and stuff to your DeviantArt page and everything for doing pony art. So it's really created a pretty famous. Let me get to that next. Okay, so yeah, there's the horse famous people that have gotten famous from the fandom and everything. So yeah, this might be kind of controversial, but basically there's kind of this discussion in some places, are bronies furries? Some people don't want to, like, I don't know, be grouped in with, you know, with that. I don't know. It's the but with furries, kind of the most common associated thing with the furry characters is the dog man character. It's basically a dog's head on a human body, or the cynocephalon. That's basically Greek for dog man, or dog head. But they, you know, there's this huge fandom that has a huge area of content. But so, you know, some people don't want to be lumped in with them. But you know, what are furries exactly? You know, like I said, there's kind of the trend of a lot of people think it's like the dog head characters, but more vaguely, they just like to say it's basically anything that's a big extended interest in a kind of an anthropomorphic animal. So pretty much, you know, anything involving that is, you know, if you really like Lion King, you know, whatever. Huh?
The problem I've run into it personally, what I've read about, is that there's a certain subset of furries who are into adult content, and some people perceive bronies as being exclusive to that subset, but they also don't realize there's other furry groups out there.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, everyone always looks at the most shocking or, you know, whatever, socially outlying
I read a
parts of
story
something.
about someone who was on, Stephen Colbert did a couple of shout-outs to bronies at various points, and he kept asking if it was sexual, and the guy's like, no, are you sure? Yes, sir, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But he said he got creeped out by some of the things looked like. I'm like, well, I know for a fact there exists Stephen Colbert, Jon Stewart / fiction. So I don't think what you get from a random Google search is a good basis for judgment.
Exactly,
there.
yeah.
And now you want me to Google that.
The brony, I mean, the furry subculture also, you know, just like the brony subculture, creates lots of arts, crafts, they hold conventions, they even make fursuits, you can see that here. A lot of, but yeah, at the moment the brony culture seems to be like, gains just so much attention and is so active. That's just what's amazing about it. It's this hornet's nest of activity. A few differences are kind of I guess the furries do kind of suffer a bit from their vagueness about what their center is. Bronies have a foundation of context. They have a TV show that they're based on. They can instantly go to that, you know. Furries aren't really centralized around anything. They have a bit less unity. But yeah, in time, after the show's over, you know, I don't want to think about that, but it's, you know, possible the bronies might just fall back and become another kind of. We'll probably fall back in with the furry fandom and everything. But yeah, a lot of bronies already were furries. A lot of furries just became bronies too. So it's kind of, you know, I don't really see the need for differences, but you know, it's all about the labels and the ones you prefer to use. So yeah, the origin of the whole brony thing. It started on 4chan, on the co-board back in 2010. The very first threads were just basically talking about, were kind of an adult period where it's which stands for cartoons and comics, discussion boards. So they were just going on about how it was kind of a dry period. There weren't really many new cartoons or animated things out at the time. But then there was this new network coming on, the Hub. See, Hasbro made a boatload of cash from Michael Bay's Transformer movies. And the good side of that, I guess, is that Hasbro made this Hub network, which it had a lot of money, and because Michael Bay kind of did his own twist on Transformers, Hasbro kind of thought, hey, why don't we give some other people some liberty, take a few liberties, you know, with some of our other IP content. And so they actually went to Floor and Faust who had actually been a lifelong fan of My Little Pony because she played with toys when she was a little girl. She was a cartoonist who did like okay, let me clear up this
Her husband.
thing. Her husband, Craig McCracken, did Powerpuff Girls, Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, but she obviously helped a lot, you know, storyboard and stuff like that. The hub went to, she was pitching her Galaxy Girls cartoon and going around to different places. She went to Hasbro with that, and they weren't really interested in her Galaxy Girls idea, but they did say, well, do you want to do My Little Pony? And she was like, sure, you know. And she you know, took it on, and they gave her pretty much total artistic license for a little while. And so she was able to just totally go nuts with her world building and creating and stuff. So here's the first thread on Co. From when the thread came out. Yeah, you know, anyway, and that's just kind of an interesting little historical thing from the internet, you know. There might be some swearing on it, it's Co. But it's 4chan. But the rest is history, you know. From the first threads on Co, it just kind of exploded from there. Then the Co board was so overwhelmed with pony threads that they started throwing down the ban hammer on it, and you know, the uprising My Little Pony fans, you know, didn't really have a place to go, so they took refuge in B. Don't ever go to B. And B got annoyed by it, imagine. And so they eventually were given their own sub-chan MOP later on, but that was already after things had started really taking off, after Seth made Equestria Daily Blog, and lots of other drama and lots of other things came about. It just grew from there as the seasons were on. So yeah, the rest is history. I think that's the end. Oh yes, yes. Okay, so this, I don't know, this might be a little bit opinionated, but I would like, you know, I mean, I want to see this thing continue to exist, you know. I don't want it to just be like a fad for the show and everything. You know, there's been so much passion for it. There's been so much amazing inspiration and everything from it. So I'm hoping that, you know, even into the future, maybe it can just become kind of a sort of cultural folklore or something, you know. I hope maybe past the merchandise and everything, maybe there could be lots of, you know, culture of arts and crafts and things that could be created in the future. Yeah, you know, these are kind of times when I think we really do need like kind of a revolution in culture and everything else. We're overdue for one, and you know, I hope maybe we can just kind of integrate the Brony thing into that, and yeah, start to make a difference, start to change more and more things. There could be, there's, you know, alternative ways of living and everything. There's eco-villages, there's earth ships, there's actually a lot of interesting things in Texas we can look into, because, you know, the traditional way of, you know, graduating and affording a subdivision house and everything, that's starting to change, you know. A lot of houses are foreclosed and a lot of people are weighed down by college debt and everything. There's other ways of living that are starting to pop up in different places, you know, like eco-villages. There's, you know, ponies make a great mascot for different causes and stuff like that. There's a maker culture of 3D printing, maker spaces, like there's several, actually a couple in Houston. TXRX Labs has a lot of 3D printers that they like to make 3D printed ponies and stuff on. There's all just kinds of stuff. We can take the inspiration we get from the cute little pony faces, and I hope we can just be inspired to keep creating and keep doing positive things, you know, together, because it's a social catalyst, you know. It's brought so many people together and it's changed so many people's lives. And you know, I hope it just kind of becomes almost like a nerdy fantasy genre, kind of like Tolkien's whole, you know, universe and everything, you know. So yeah, I think that's the last one. Oh yeah, sources and stuff. So yeah. Yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. Yes.